The next thing we want to add in here is our grid lines. And I have always said from the beginning, to any new user, some people say, well, I don't normally need grid lines or use grid lines. And I'm telling you, you really should be using grid lines. You don't have to print them or see them, but they are control datums. Your levels, your grid lines, and your reference planes are really what control the building. So I encourage you to use grid lines. There's straight grid lines and also arc-shaped grid lines. So we draw grid lines either from an elevation or from a plan view. It's good to have the level lines in first because then the grid lines will extend vertically from the bottom to the top. Because I already have my levels in here, okay, when I go to draw my grid line, it's going to go from down here to up above here somewhere. If you draw in a level line after you draw the grid line, and you draw it above, you might have to pull your grid lines up. And we'll show you that when we get into the behavior of grid lines. So back on my main floor, I need to draw them. So let's have a quick look at our sheets here. Let's go to our floor plans and let's zoom in. I think the foundation plan is probably as good as any. So let's just zoom over here a little bit. So we've got 1, 2, 3 grid lines, 4, 5, 6. And I might even rename these to be A, B, C on the side instead. And we can see this is 75 feet, 25 and 50, and this is 25 and 25 for a total of 50 feet. So nothing complicated there. And the grid lines basically represent the outside of the foundation wall. Okay. So that makes sense. This little object here is a person. That's someone standing at the front door there. That's why that's showing up. And we'll probably add in some more structural. But for the most part, we look at those grid lines, okay? And that's where they are. And you'll also notice if you zoom in here, okay, the wall overhangs that grid line a little bit. Okay, if we go to our section view, let's go to our 103. Okay, if we zoom in here, we'll notice that in our cross section over here, we could pick either side here, it doesn't matter. And then pan down a little bit, go over here. This outside wall overhangs this a little bit. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit more. See, it pulls down. So this main floor comes down a little bit further. There's our foundation wall, 8 inches. There's our floor system. There's our main floor wall. There's our second floor tying in. There's our second floor going up. And there's our roof coming across and striking that. We will add in more detail to this, but just notice the more or less the relationship, the thickness. This is an 8-inch wall. This is a 6-inch interior with 2 inches on the outside. Okay, we're keeping it pretty basic. So that's just something that we want to know. And then if I zoom out here, we can see our grid lines are there, and there's our 25 by 25. Okay. So back to a last glance here at our floor plans. Okay. So if I zoom out, we've got a 75 and a 50 split this way and a 50-25 over there. So these are the grid lines. These grid lines we're going to draw in Revit right now. So back over here, we start off by going to our Home tab and we can draw a grid line. You can also right click and say Add to Quick Access Toolbar and it'll show up over here, and then you can pick it over here. Either way, we're going to go from the bottom up to the top, and we're not sure how big the space is here, so we're just going to kind of pick and go like this. Click, click. It's automatically going to put in a 1 here, okay, because it's a new drawing. So if I go down here, you'll see again, just like levels, they're very much like levels. I'm going to click and drag, and I'm not even really looking at the distance too much. I know this needs to be over here, and the first one was kind of short. Okay, and now I'm going to start going the other way. Pick. Okay, if you get stuck in any way, just hit escape once, and then you can go again. If you hit escape once and hit escape again, then you'll have to start over, picking your grid tool. Okay, so pick once, and then if you want to make sure it goes straight, hold your shift key in. Okay, your shift is your ortho, so hold your shift key in if you want to make it nice and straight, or else try to keep your mouse steady. Click there, and again I'm lining these up. Click again down here, click, click. Okay, escape. Now zoom in, and then now I do my little cleanup. So we can see it says 1, 2, 3, which is good. Okay, they're not spaced right, and I've decided I want to change this to be ABC. Okay, the other thing is when you go to draw a grid line, if you draw a grid line and you pick a point, if you go in here right away and change this to be, you know, like an A, click out, and then you draw another grid line, it'll put B in there, and then if you draw another grid line here, it'll put a C in there. Okay, click again, and then pick, and then if you go back here and you put an M, pick out, draw another one, it'll go to N. Okay, escape, escape, escape. So I want to delete these guys, so I'm going to pick on one using my control button on my keyboard. I'm able to grab all those. Okay, use your control button, and then on the keyboard, delete. Okay, pick on here, delete. So individual deletes, just pick on them and delete, or use your control button to pick a bunch. You can also do a window box and a crossing box to select objects. Okay, we'll talk about that some more. So now we just want to add some dimensions and get these spaced properly. So I have a dimension tool on my quick access toolbar. If you don't, you can go here and right click. This is the one we're going to be using, aligned. Right click and say add to quick access toolbar. There it is here. Click. And now I'm going to, what you do is you pick once, you move to the next one, pick again, move to the next one, pick again. Oh, and you know what? I missed it. Okay. So what happens? I hit escape. Escape. Now I'm going to go back, pick on this guy and say edit witness line. Click. That lets me continue from there. Pick. And now I'm going to pick nothing and escape. Escape. Okay, we haven't really got to dimensions yet, but we'll do a few of those to get you going. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, oh, my scale is okay. I was going to adjust that. To adjust this, what you do is you pick the object, then change the number. Don't pick the dimension. Most people, the tendency is to pick the dimension. To move this, that's not the way you do it. Pick the object, like the wall or the door or the grid line, then the number lights up, and you can change this to say 50. You don't have to say feet. Pick out, pick again. It does it. Zoom out with panning out. Pick this grid line because that's the one you want to move. Pick in here once, change it to be 25. Click out, click out. Okay. This one's okay up there. Pick this guy. Oh, there's some temporary dimensions. I haven't put dimensions on here yet, but I can pick on here anyway and go in here and use this temporary dimension and change this to say 25. Pick out, click away, pick in here, 25, click out. Okay, so that's the right sizes. Now I can add my dimensions in after the fact, and I'm doing this in a different way. Now watch, pick once, pick twice, pick again when it highlights, wiggle around, and then pick nothing. You have to pick in white space. Pick. Now I'm going to do it again. Pick here, zoom, zoom, go out, look where it is, pick nothing. Okay, escape, escape. Now I'm going to pick on here and use my arrow keys on the keyboard. This is called nudging. Nudge, nudge, nudge. Nudge it into place using the arrow keys on your keyboard. Okay, let's do another dimension. Dimension from here to here. Wiggle, wiggle. Click nothing. Escape, escape. Pick on here. Use your arrow key. Nudge, 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 nudge. Okay. Now I can see about what size it is. Just like level lines with the 3D button and the aligning and locking, I can click on those level lines and move them. Pick any one of these guys, grab it by the grip, hold my mouse button in, stretch it. Now before I draw anything, I'm going to do a big crossing box like this to grab everything. Okay, crossing box goes to the left, window box goes to the right. Now when I go to nudge it, I'm going to use my shift key, and that's a big nudge. Okay, and I'm going to nudge it down. See, shift key with an arrow key is large nudges, and then small nudges with the arrow key. So what I'm doing basically now is centering the building, actually more like this, okay, in my elevations. I might even grab this grid line and pull this down a little bit. If the dimension lines are up near the grid lines and dimension to the grid line, when you pick the grid line, you'll actually move the dimensions with it. You can also move the dimensions independently by picking and dragging them if your press and drag is on over here. Okay, press and drag. Middle mouse, pan into place, zoom out a little bit. Okay, so now look what happens. If I go to my top of footing plan, click. Okay, close your ceiling plans. That might get you in trouble. Close those off. We don't want to see those. There's my top of footing. It doesn't have any dimensions, but the grid lines are there. If I actually go in and add my dimensions in, I can do that after the fact. Click, wiggle, place it up there, pick, and then I'll let you go through and do them all. I'm not going to do all of them, so I'm just placing those dimensions. Escape on the keyboard. So main floor, second floor, we can add those in. Top of roof, add those in, and then site plan, not much going on there so far. Okay, if we go to a 3D view, we're not going to see anything because we haven't drawn anything that's visible in a 3D view. Levels and grids do not show up in a 3D view. So at this point, all we're going to see is look at our level lines. We can probably grab these guys now and bring them in because we know where our grid lines are. So we can do a cleanup of our level lines, picking and pulling these guys in, and south. See now, because we did 3D, the south and the east and west are doing it. But look, you see what happens? On the opposite side here, we have the text, so we've got that pulled out, and this side is tight. But watch when we go to the opposite side, east. Okay, that's this side over here. So really, I've got to be careful. I've got to pull this out because that'll leave me enough room for my text on the other side. Similarly with this. You want to leave a little bit out because it depends on where the tags are on each side. See how that moved out? If I put this over here, then I could control the then I could pull this one in tighter because the tags would be on the left on this side and the right on the other side. So I'll let you turn the level tags on or off in your views and basically go through and clean these up. You can go in again and add some dimensions. Dimension from here to here to here. Wiggle, pick nothing, pick. And then it's a looping command where you can just do it again. Click, pick. So go around, get your elevations cleaned up per view. Get your dimensions on there.